To write during the Elizabethan period. I'm sure some of you are wondering what is this Elizabethan period, right? I live just around the village, and we arrive at 7 o'clock. Then the classes would start at 8 o'clock, so we take about 40 minutes in each and every class and knock off at 5 o'clock. In each class, I could be teaching as many as 150 students. So it's quite of a challenge to teach a number like that, but we manage. Sometimes you might find that you're not even able to walk around. I've been teaching for 5 years, teaching English language and literature in English, teaching some of Shakespeare's texts, and also teaching one of the foreign books such as Halabaloo in the Guava Orchard by Kiran Desai. I love teaching because I love to impart knowledge to this young generation, and I also want to bring change in the 21st century because I believe that technology right now is something that is taking in being integrated worldwide. So I don't want my students in my country to be left behind.
This school has low fees. School fees is very low, but some students cannot afford to pay the school fees because they are from vulnerable families. Some of the students here come to school without food because most of them do not have parents. Their parents have died. Some come to our offices to ask for food because they cannot concentrate in classes. Some of them, they don't even have shoes. They come here because they know very well that as much as they are poor, they are aware that education is the only thing that can help them. It is the only thing that can take them out from where they are right now.
If these students don't have access to technology, my fear is that they would go out there and not have the required skills to survive in the 21st century. Because right now you look all over, jobs, requirements, they want people to be equipped with technology. So if we are saying that we are teachers and not implementing this technology into them, what kind of generation are we raising? We are raising a generation that was not going to be able to survive in the 21st century.
I was a school teacher for 12 years before joining Microsoft. Now I work as part of a small team focused on worldwide education strategy. But I struggle with that term worldwide, because the reality is we don't focus on learners everywhere, just in those parts of the world where you can plug a device into a wall. And the truth is, the vast majority of students live in parts of the world which don't have those services. They don't have electricity, they don't have computers, they don't have access to the internet. So what we're going to do is go on a journey and try and discover what those issues are and where we can add some value. So we're on our way out to my old school, the school I used to teach in, Sutton Park School on the north side of Dublin. And we're going out there to talk to a bunch of kids, teenagers between 4th year and 6th year. And the reason we're doing that is we want to get their perspective on how they use technology, how they use it within a classroom environment for learning, but also how they use it in their social life. Because the reality is students, whether they are in the developed world or in the developing world, are exactly the same. And they should have access to exactly the same opportunities. So here we are actually back in my old school. In fact, that was my classroom over there. And the truth is, I loved teaching. And so what we're doing today is something I'm really excited about. We're going to go and talk to some teachers and kids about what it is we think we should do next. You have a view of the differences. between the environment you have here and the environment that people of the same age face in the developing world. My open question to you is, what would you do?
It's unfair not to supply them with things. Everyone has the right to education, as you said. So I think it's definitely important that they are prepared, because everyone has a challenge now to get jobs now because of the recession and stuff. So everyone's competing against each other. So they should be as prepared as we are.
Talk to the students that are similar to us, but you will be helping, and see what they think that they need to learn.
I think one of the reasons why we're able to use our technology is because we're able to read what says on the screen, and I think that literacy is a big problem in the developing world.
There's no point in someone like people coming in from America and trying to like talk to like African kids or teenagers and saying like, this is how you should run your lives. The only way it's going to work properly is if you get people who actually live there and have knowledge of the community and the issues they face. So I think like training people who already are like have good knowledge and insight into the problems and challenges would be the best way.
What's clear is that technology in schools has changed hugely since I was last in the classroom. But what's equally clear is that the sort of technology we've seen in place in Sutton Park is very unlikely to work in schools in the developing world. And that's why we've come here, to Washington, D.C., to talk to two of the largest aid agencies in the world about what those challenges are and what might be the best ways to address them.
In the developing world, oftentimes they don't have the infrastructure that we take for granted in the developed world. Things like basic electricity, the ability to even power their own cell phone, something that's becoming so ubiquitous in the developing world. Oftentimes their biggest challenge is, where do I charge this?
So if we think of mobile, we think of convenience. But does mobile education mean something different in the developing world?
Yeah, mobile education, I think, is tapping into oftentimes the sole communication line that people have to the rest of the world, other than walking to see them. It's really a full life enabler. And it wouldn't be a surprise for those people to gain basic knowledge, even literacy, through the use of a mobile device. And I think that that's an opportunity whose time is certainly here.
So given the breadth of the challenges facing an agency like yours, why invest in education?
The future of a country is really based on the education of its youth. And that's why we're particularly interested in the importance of early grade reading. That's, again, an important underpinning for what you want to do later in life. The conversations always stopped at the door of sustainability and scale and access. What's really exciting is that mobile technologies, let's say mobile phones, that coverage is reaching 90% of the world. It's estimated that by 2016, there will be 1 billion handsets that are being used in Africa. And Africa is a huge place of innovation in regards to looking at the use of mobile phones.
I was in a Maasai community just a few months ago, interviewing Maasai farmers. These are people that live in manyatas, the traditional Maasai hut. I asked them, how many of you have power in the place where you live? And virtually nobody raised their hand. I then asked them, how many of you have a cell phone? There was about 20 people there, and I think 19 of them held up their cell phones. It was really quite remarkable.
While I was in Washington, I also took the opportunity to make a Skype call to Tom van der Ark, one of the leading thinkers in terms of new pedagogies and the role of technology in education. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is whether you believe the gap that's opening up between students and educators in the developed world and the developing world is widening because of technology, or whether there's actually an opportunity for us now to shorten that, to equalise the opportunity.
I do think there's a chance to connect every young person on the planet in this decade and connect them not only to life on the internet, but also to a quality education.
So talk a little then, Tom, about why this is such an area of passion and focus for you.
Well, I don't know what anybody could work on that would have a bigger shot at producing peace and prosperity on the planet. I think education technology is at least on par with clean tech and with biotech in terms of the potential of positively impacting hundreds of millions, if not billions of lives in our lifetime.
So what have we learned? Firstly, that not only might the type of technology we saw in use in Sutton Park School not be fit for purpose in the parts of the world that Tony and Lou's organisations work in, but it might be the wrong thing to use as well. Not simply because of infrastructural challenges, but because it might be both culturally and educationally inappropriate. And also because there might be the very type of innovation we're looking for already in play in those parts of the world. So what we've also confirmed is that in addressing these challenges, technology is not a nice to have, but an absolute necessity. We need the new paradigms that technologies enable if we're going to deal with what are otherwise insurmountable obstacles. Things like the absence of teachers, the lack of appropriate content which can be produced and distributed at low cost and at scale. There's also a consensus building around mobile education. But what is equally clear is that at the moment there's no true alignment around the needs and the opportunities that exist with mobile education. What we need to do is get industry figures, policymakers, educational thought leaders together to debate these issues and try and agree on a strategy which is workable and allows us to make real progress. We know that mobile phone ownership is increasing at an ever-accelerating rate, but not everyone thinks that's necessarily a good thing.
So mobile phones have different impacts on poverty, and we need to contextualise how they're adopted and adapted in Africa and elsewhere in the developing world. If you look at Ethiopia, for example, the poorest 75% of the people who use mobile phones in Ethiopia spend over a quarter of their income on them. So that's a huge proportion for people who don't have a lot of money. Now you have to ask, why are they doing that? And it's so that they can access opportunities, so they can connect with their families. So there's real usefulness to that, but still it can increase poverty for people, as I say, whose incomes are low.
When you look forward, are you overall optimistic or pessimistic about the impact of mobile technology as a whole upon economies such as the ones you study?
Overall, I would say that the mobile phone has been positive for African development. And we can see numerous examples of that, from farmers getting access to prices, being able to sell, where they can get the best profits. There have been innovations in mobile health delivery and mobile education. But my concern is that we overload the impact of mobile phones. Information technology is one piece of the puzzle. But by itself, it's not going to transform societies or economies. It needs to be embedded into a broader policy framework which deals with issues around literacy, education, infrastructure, industrial development, and other issues of critical importance as well.
So tonight, as you probably gather, we're doing something of a family movie night. And at the back of this is just an opportunity to try and test some kit. What we've got is three basic things: a small portable speaker, a Windows phone for the content, and a Pico projector, small but capable of projecting quite a large image. The reality is we haven't tried this as yet. Hopefully it's going to work. Let's go and see. So this is rough and ready, it's still pretty primitive, but the fact is it works. At least to some degree we've got something here that maybe with some help we can develop into a real solution. We're here in Paris at the UNESCO Mobile Learning Week event, and they're all here. Policymakers, practitioners, researchers, government representatives, industry leaders, all gathered to discuss the very issues that we've been talking about, and I've been fortunate enough to get a chance to speak. We cannot restrict the view of an entire generation of children to a tiny window on the world. Unless we believe that children in one part of the world are somehow less deserving than children in another part of the world, we have to insist on what Thomas van der Ark calls the equalisation of opportunity.
I got to talk to ministers of education and non-governmental organisations and learn more about the challenges they face.
So beginning from 2 years ago, we have launched what we call one tablet per child policy, giving first, last year, one tablet to each children in grade 1, totaling about 750,000 children all over the country.
Today, 70% of our populace has mobile telephone connections, which is a very encouraging factor for us to promote mobile telephone-based learning.
Well, I think literacy is a fundamental issue. It's really a key to learning, or a doorway to learning. If you're illiterate, you're locked out of so many opportunities, job opportunities, learning opportunities, even the ability to actively participate in society fully. And so literacy is a key that we really need to address to make sure that all people can participate in their own communities, in society, in the workplace.
And what role can technology play in helping us to address the challenges that we're facing?
I think one of the interesting things about mobile technology is the footprint that it provides. It provides a larger footprint than where we have electricity in the world, which is pretty amazing. It is the largest footprint of coverage, if you think of it that way, of services. So we really are at a new point, a tipping point, where we can provide the same quality of service to someone who's in the most remote and rural area, as long as they have cell coverage, as we do for people who live in cities and more urban areas.
It sounds as if technology also has a key part to play in the preservation of local culture and local language. How important is that?
Well, I think it definitely is the case that once you have access to, say, some form of mobile device connected to the network, then you can have access to an unlimited number of reading materials and other resources, including knowledge-based resources. That's great for consumption, but I think there's another important issue here, and that is that the digital device is also a production device. And so it allows anyone to start to be a publisher.
So much for the theory. Now what we've got to do is go there. Hear from teachers and from students about the challenges they're facing each and every day.
We've come a long way within the space of one short year. And what's become clear is it's about literacy. Literacy is the base foundation for all education and all opportunity. What we've done since then is we've held a series of meetings to build a partnership called the Literacy for Life Partnership, working with USAID, World Vision, UNESCO, but also other partners such as Save the Children, the Reading and Writing Foundation, the Global Partnership for Education at the World Bank, to see the way in which we could work together to really find new and innovative ways to address that challenge.
And that's what's brought us here, to Lesotho in southern Africa, where we're going to start to try and put some of those ideas and some of those new technologies into practice, and to see if they can actually help to address the issue at hand. And that's why we're here, to meet with a group of teachers, teachers in training and also teachers in practice, and to provide them with some new mobile technologies and some new software tools that will help them find ways of bringing these solutions into their communities. We're not going to be directive about what they do. We're going to trust very much to their creativity and imagination. These are teachers, after all. But we're confident that we may be at the stage where we can begin to tackle the problem in a different way. This is where we go from theory to practice. And to be honest, it's a little scary. Finally, we're going to be putting these devices and services into the hands of students and teachers in the classroom. Over the past few months, I've been continuing to experiment with mobile technologies. Low-cost, battery-powered devices such as smartphones, tablets, small-screen touch devices, and Pico projectors which can operate in classrooms which may not have power. We've also developed a new piece of software which we're calling Chekhov, an authoring tool which will allow anyone, anywhere to create new literacy learning objects which reference local language and culture. It is significantly easier to gain basic literacy in your first language. Yet, of the 7,013 world languages, more than 90% of those are spoken by 100,000 people or less.
What excites me more than anything else with this is that part where teachers can create their own material. I can imagine a teacher surrounded by grade 1 students, grade 1 pupils, talking about a story or creating a story together, letting the children to make some graphics or drawings for the story, and then the teacher capturing it and pasting it, and then the children going on to the story again after that. It's lovely, it will be fun for the children, but a lot of learning will be taking place.
I'm really excited because I'm going to share with my children, with everyone in my environment, in the worldwide, and also to give out. I see that I have to give out something to other people so that they can know that I myself am having that dignity of showing up who I am and what the world needs from me and how to share with the world.
Yesterday was great. We finally got the devices into the hands of the teachers. But today is even more exciting. We're on our way to Lekele High School, which is where Lucille teaches, to actually see it all at work in a real classroom environment.
How are you? We are very well, thank you. How are you, ma'am? I'm fine, and you? Thanks. Sit down. So this book is not foreign at all because we have got our own Julius Caesar in our country. We have got a man called Moshesh, right? Look at him. Moshesh was a great warrior. Like I'm saying that the Elizabethan period is a time of great warriors when a man was considered a man because he's physically strong. Now we also have that in our country. Do you see? We have a man called here Moshesh who was also what? A dictator. Just like whom? Like Julius Caesar. Now this is the Elizabethan theater. In the Elizabethan theater, all these plays, the tragedies, the comedies that Shakespeare would create would be performed live. Right now, all of you in here can be authors. Do you know that? Yes. All of you in here can be authors. Do you know that?
Yes. This is where you go in and you start to put in information, and you can decide where you want your story to go. And you can choose from all of these countries all over the world. And you say, when I have written my story, I want people to be able to read this in Europe or in the United States. But we need your help. We need you to take this opportunity and let the world hear your stories, all of these countries. Your story can go to all of these countries just by you going to this website and writing the story. And perhaps you can be the next Shakespeare. You can become famous for your writing, for your imagination, for your creativity all over the world.
Although primary education is free to all students in Lesotho, it costs roughly €100 per student to provide a place in a school like Lekele High School. What's interesting is that for less than that amount of money, we can provide each and every one of those students with a mobile learning device, low-cost broadband internet access using technologies such as TV white spaces, and with access to unlimited content.
Not only are there just not enough physical resources, not enough books, not enough schools, not enough teachers, there's another issue. Most of the children who encounter these problems are living in homes where there may not be another literate adult. And giving a child a printed book when there's nobody else within the home, or in some cases even within their community, who can read it to them, is about as useful as giving them a rock. Is it hard to study at home?
For me, it is hard because sometimes we may live with people who are not that into education. Then at night when you read, no, please switch off the lights, we want to sleep. So it's not easy to read at home, but at school it is really.
It is hard for me to come in school because I don't have the money and my grandmother is sick, so I come to school. And sometimes I arrive late because I take about 2 hours to come here at school.
And you walk to school?
Yes.
And tell me a little about life at home.
I have a younger brother, yes. But we are not living a good life, I must say.
And do you think school is important to allow you to have a chance to change your life and to make it better?
I think it is important because it will help me to take care of my family in the future. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little about your life at home and your life at school?
My life at home. At home, I don't think at home is easy because at home there are a lot of things like
Are you okay? If it's difficult to talk about home, it's fine. Will we talk about school instead?
And school is beautiful because I meet with people and the schooling is great. Yeah, it's really great.
So do you enjoy being here in school and learning?
Yeah.
I have my mother. She's not educated. She cannot read. So if I'm able to read, I can tell her everything about what is happening around the world.
So if you could have a device like this, would this be of use to you in your study?
Instead of opening up my book at night because it would be not light, there won't be no enough light. This has got its own light, so I can be able to use it freely and easily.
I'm hoping to be a teacher.
You want to be a teacher?
Yes.
Like Lucille and like me?
Yes, sir.
Why do you want to be a teacher?
I want to give more information to the children for them to be successful in future.
Their circumstances may be very different, but all children are essentially the same. They share the same hopes and aspirations, the same determination to improve their lives.
So what have we done? We've established that the number one education priority globally is literacy. It's an issue that faces each and every community on the planet. We've also developed some new and perhaps innovative ways of approaching that challenge. New mobile technologies, new software that can help teachers and students to address the issue at scale. We've established that whatever solutions we put into place have to be able to scale and have to be sustainable. They have to support the communities that they serve. And to do that, they must reference local language and local culture. Now, we're dependent on the creativity of those communities, teachers like Lucille, and the students that we saw at Lekele High School and other schools throughout the world, to take those solutions, see what they can do, and see how they can be used to lift themselves and their communities up from poverty. To learn more about the issues raised in this documentary, visit the website lit4life.net. Here, parents, teachers and students can also create and share their own free ebooks and publish them to the world.